Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to another Premier League DraftKings DFS slate preview. Interesting slate we have here this weekend. As you can see, there's no traditional top six team. Because of that, there's no massive favorite. It makes it a lot easier just because you don't have to balance of how much City to go, how much Arsenal. It's all just wide open, which really allows you to kind of focus on just the good players because matchups are largely irrelevant considering every match is pretty much even. We got a couple minus odds teams like Brentford at minus 100 and Aston Villa at minus 130. Or both at minus 130 really, but they're just not that big of favorites, and the games just should not be that one-sided on paper at least. Now, let's go lineup by lineup and set pieces for Nottingham Forest. Should be a Langa monopoly these days. He's kind of established himself as the main set taker over Elliot Anderson, over Gibbs White, over Hudson Odoi. If Toffolo is in, he might potentially split, but Lanka's the main guy right now. For Wolves, if it's this lineup, it's probably a Cunha monopoly, which is super interesting considering you don't really think of him as a set piece taker, but as of last, oh no, it could be Rodrigo Gomez too. It's one of these two. I feel like it might just continue to be Cunha though, just because the set pieces were pretty effective against Chelsea. And I just have a hunch that they continue to run with him. But Gomez took the game before, I don't remember against who, but Gomez didn't play against Chelsea. That's one thing to keep in mind. I just feel like it'll be Cunha, but it's a bit of a toss up between those two. If Sarabia is in, he's most likely set taker. If Aït-Nouri is in, he has a chance of splitting set pieces as well, but not over Sarabia, so keep that in mind. Now, Brentford, Southampton, Mbeumo and Jensen split. They're pretty clear cut for their set pieces. And for Southampton, it should be mostly small bone with a chance Sugawara has a small share. Everton, Bournemouth, McNeil, likely everything. If there's Lindstrom in, he could split, but I don't think they'll play him. He's not been one of their main starters. He played in the cup game midweek. So did McNeil, interestingly enough, playing 90 minutes, which I thought was super surprising. So maybe there's a slight chance that McNeil doesn't start or comes off early, but I kind of doubt it because he's just their main guy. For Bournemouth, it should be a Tavernier and Cook split. We've seen Christie split in the past, but it should mostly be Tavernier and Cook. And Cook will kind of take more than Tav does, although does not offer a ton besides the one offset pieces. Fulham and Ipswich, Pereira Monopoly. Pretty simple for them. For Ipswich, another pretty simple team. It should be like 95% Leif Davis. Like he'll take all the corners, most of the free kicks. You'll see Morrissey take a couple of just free kicks, but it's mostly Leif Davis. Leicester Villa, it should be Winks and Buonanotte taking. There's a chance that Fatawu takes, but he hasn't really under Steve Cooper. More of a Maresca set piece guy. And for Aston Villa, it should be a mostly Tielemans and Bailey split, although we can see Digne take a couple, we can see McGinn take a couple, but mostly Bailey and Tielemans. Nice. All right, into the prices. Ollie Watkins, most expensive forward, 9,400. I think he's an awful play, frankly. He's become a 60-minute player because they just kind of go 60 for Ollie, 30 for Duran, and that's kind of what they do now. It's a pretty concrete pattern now after a couple of weeks, and Watkins just has not been in good form anyway. Like for this much, I just am not a fan of Watkins at all, even in GPP, really. It's an adult. He's got a bit of a floor to him. I don't mind that as a play. There's a small chance he ends up taking set pieces again, but don't count on it. I don't think he's that bad of a play. Fatawu, His floor just seems so false to me. Like, I don't know how he got to 11. I don't even know how this adds up to 11.9. But he somehow got there. I just don't think that's really much of a consistent thing. I know he's on for the first two games, but I just don't really think it's sustainable. Just in how he gets points, which is just not many crosses, quite a bit of tackles, which you can't always count on. They're pretty random. Now, McNeil, this is probably the best cash option on the slate. Just super taking advantage of the DFS matrix with him, or DFS scoring matrix with him. He gets a ton of crosses, ton of key passes. Like he's just a DFS dream. Love Dwight McNeil. Amari Hutchinson, meh. Semenyo, meh. Cunha. If it's the projected lineup that we just saw, I think Cunha is a super tempting play. He's a guy who just gets points even before taking set pieces. Like he gets 7 against Arsenal, which is pretty crazy considering how much Arsenal possess the ball. He usually doesn't offer a ton of floor opportunities for the opposing team, and he still got there. Like, oh, and that was in 30 minutes, by the way, too, which is even more crazy. Like Cunha, he's just a great play if he has set pieces. Like he's a real headache of a decision to make between him and McNeil and a guy that I will get to. I'll just talk about it now. Alanga. I think your cash forwards are 2 out of 3 of Cunha, Alanga, and McNeil. McNeil's probably the front runner as the first guy in, and then it's more of a 50-50 between Cunha and McNeil. Or no, Cunha and Alanga. And I think that's a little bit tougher. Alanga is he's the home team. They're the favorites against Wolves, but Cunha definitely has upside over him. And it's just weighing the pros and cons of both those guys. Uh, Duran, he's probably not going to start. Sosa was great in the EFL Cup games. I just don't think he plays, but he's going to be a guy that I super look forward to seeing in the future. He probably comes off the bench pretty early on, too. Malpai's gone. Vardy, just don't think it's the matchup. Interesting to have Harrison as a forward. I don't mind him, but like I said, like there's a pretty clear 3 guys that you should be playing for forward and cash. Makes everyone kind of obsolete. Uni's a bit of a floor too. I don't think that's bad for GPP. Ipswich are not good. Everyone else, like it's so hard to get away from even looking at people other than Alanga, Cunha, McNeil. But Morgan Rogers, he's been super solid. Everyone's like, oh, he's the next Bellingham. I don't think he's got that ceiling, but he's just been a solid player. Definitely running a little hot, so I don't expect that kind of floor. But I don't think he's that bad of a play. He looks super dangerous. In GBP though, for sure, more like than cash. And everyone else I'm kind of whatever on. Playing Heat-Chan, I don't mind as like a value forward punt. And then everyone else, Calvert-Lewin I don't mind as a forward punt either. Has just not been good, but for 5K, just luck a goal and he's paid off. Don't mind Evan Nielsen either for GPP. But yeah. So yeah, I talked about the 3 forwards you focus on. For mids, the big name here is Pereira. He should be 100% owned in cash. Like he's just been so solid, even playing in that deeper role behind Smith Rowe. Like just gets a ton of crosses, ton of key passes. Like for cash, you just plug in. For GPP, you have a decent amount too, I imagine. Tavernier, he's been hot, but I'm just not as big of a fan to him compared to a Pereira, especially for cheaper. But I don't mind him as a play. Gibbs White, he's a ceiling GBP guy. He's had a bit of a floor just in randomness, similarly to like a Fatawu, but just not my first choice here, considering some of these elite midfielders like Pereira, like Tavernier, like Mbuemo. Mbuemo's going to be super tempting in cash. I don't judge him for having a bad score against Liverpool, but 21 against Crystal Palace, Southampton I think they are arguably the worst team in the league right now, and Mbuemo I could definitely see punishing them a lot. So yeah, love Embuemo. Smith Rowe I think is a good GPP play, but for cash, Embuemo, Pereira, Tavernier, probably better off going them. Jensen, not enough upside for me. Sarabi, I'd love a piece in for 5,800. That's a solid play. Jada, I don't mind as a GPP play. Keelmans, I don't think is bad value at 5K. I think that's all right. Same with Christie if there's no Tavernier. Probably means Christie sets and 5K for set takers. Pretty solid. I go Tielemans over him though. Lindstrom, I'd love if he played. Splitting set pieces, 4,700. It's a good play there. A little bit upside to him. And then Cook is meh. If you just need someone for 4K, he's fine, I suppose, but don't expect anything great. Buonanotte at 4K, I think is a lot more tempting. Leicester aren't like they're bad, but they attack at least. So it's not like a park the bus like OG Burnley team where they're just not offering any points. Like Leicester should make a decent game of it. I could see this game being pretty high scoring between Leicester and Villa. They both like to attack, which bodes really well for Buonanotte, since he's probably the most talented attacker they have right now, and 4K is super cheap considering he probably has a share set pieces as well. Duke I don't think mine is a rogue GPP play. If he's playing this 10 position, if then they have McNeil on the wing. Otherwise, if he's at like that central midfield role. Small bone for 3,400, I don't think is awful. He's just so reliant on set pieces, and if he doesn't get them, we can just see he just doesn't get there. But if Brentford score early enough, like definitely a path for him to kind of pay off that price, and it's not going to really take much to get there either. Then I'm kind of whatever on the rest of the guys. So like, yeah, I think the top options are the cheap mids and the expensive ones. Mid range is kind of whatever. Defenders. Now this is just probably one of the worst defenders like we've ever seen. There's not many set takers. I think it's just Sugawara. Oh no, there's Leif Davis, who's the big one. Like he's probably first man in here because of just the other defender options. But other than him, like there's Sugawara who could maybe take some sets. Toffolo could maybe take some sets. But because of that, B is a lot more wide open. Other than Leif Davis, like he should be your first man in, and for defender at least. And then it's kind of wide open from there. You could maybe go a Sugawara, although I don't think he's really worth it for that much. Same with Toffolo. I think they're both a little expensive. Like Aït-Nouri though, he's got a little bit of upside to him. I don't think he's that bad of a play. And then I think you're more looking at value, like a punt center back, like a Bassi at 2,500 is great. Same with like a Toddy Gomez or a Joaquin Anderson. I love that at 2,600. He's had a bit of a floor to him in the past, although more usually when he's in like a back five, so he's kind of a wide center back. In a back four, he's maybe not quite got that same ability to kind of cross from deep, but he's a solid player and like he gets a lot of tackles and stuff. Same with Michael Keane. Like there's a lot of punt defenders that give you a lot of freedom to go better attackers, and I kind of like them all. Like Tarkowski's good too. There's a lot of good punt defenders. I think the most popular route will be going Leif Davis punt. Like the payups besides them are like Nico Williams isn't bad, but like I said, like I feel like at 2,500 you can get some really nice center backs who are just kind of fine for that price rather than having to play double that for like a Nico Williams who maybe will get like 5, 6 more points, but also costing you that 2,500. That it's like the difference between Tielemans and Embuemo, which is a lot, I think here. And everyone else is like Tete. I think is all right, but like I said, give me a punt or give me Nico Williams if I'm going to pay up there. And in terms of a core, Leif Davis, Dwight McNeil, Pereira. 99% sure that'll end up being my core. Like I like all those guys. And yeah, I just think it's gonna be a super fun slate. I like these more even matchups. They kind of make it not having to psych myself out with like, oh, I need to have more Man City. Like that kind of screwed me last week going Doku over like a Pereira. Now, kind of like I think I have a lot more freedom to kind of pick what I want with no real pressure of matchup. Yeah, guys, that'll be it. Good luck, and I'll see you next week. Bye.